Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Human Happy Hour. Today, we are joined by Rusty DeWees. Rusty is an actor, writer, and comedian, best known for in New England for his one-man comedy show featuring his original character, the Logger. He has also appeared in several films and various TV shows, including Law and Order, Saturday Night Live, and The Cosby Mysteries. So Rusty's had a pretty sizable bio, so we had to kind of whittle it down a bit, but excited to have you here with us and lots to talk about.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. I was so excited when you said yeah.
You didn't know that it was going to be a lot of me forgetting the date and then figuring out Zoom, but we're here.
It just reminded me of me, really. I was like, oh, he's like me. That was gret.
Tell me, is that an actor thing?
I don't know. It might be a Vermont thing.
I take July off, basically about 3 or 4 shows, and I checked out. I just came back from my sister. I checked out, kind of, with not being precise with doubling up when I'm doing things, and so that's not an excuse. That's the truth.
Oh, okay, that's cool. You have a motorcycle in your house.
That's a dirt bike, Yamaha 450 YR. Yep.
Just wow. I'm like, my background, I've got a drum, but jeez.
Well, I got a John Deere tractor over there too.
Oh my god.
Is that a garage? Is that inside the house?
Well, Rena, it's a barn. It's a really big post and beam barn. There, look at, you can kind of see. It's away from the house, and it's where
Nice.
I store my videos and stuff and tools, but also I do events here. You guys can see the stage in the corner. I have people over and I interview them. It's alive what you're doing. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
People, Rick Cabot, the head of Darn Tough. I just had last week Vermont's #1 game warden, Jayson Batchelder. I invite 50 people. It's educational. It's just kind of a fun way of getting together.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Now that I see the stage, it reminds me of when I used to go to punk rock shows in barns.
That's cool.
As a teenager.
Well, Rena and Jayson, Rena will be hip to this too. I kind of thought about it like that. Who was the drummer for the band? Died recently. Really cool guy. He would go ahead.
I'm thinking.
Lee Von Helm.
Oh yeah.
Lee Von Helm had a barn in upstate New York, and they used to practice there. And then people started showing up, and then they started doing these barn events. Kind of thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's good to have a space like that, especially in a community like we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both from Vermont, in case anybody's wondering, or live in Vermont.
Right.
Yeah. Wow, cool. So, what were you doing today? Anything interesting?
Not a lot. I mean, as I said, July's kind of is off. Basically, I do the ride, the exercise class. It's a toned down soul cycle. In the morning, I did that. I did my morning errands, came back, did some administrative things, and then I went downtown and paid some bills, went to the dump, came back, watered the garden, ate, come out here. I'm out here most every night, except for about 2 months in the winter. I do have a wood stove over there, but those really cold winter months. And this is where I read and think, look out the 2 barn doors and write stuff, or just sit around and have friends over. That's what I did today. Very, very easy day. Yeah.
When I was looking up keywords for you, beer came up as one of the top.
Beard or beer?
Beer, beer.
Which is funny because this is an interview, and I don't drink other than just a sip of scotch.
Oh, lager. That's why.
Oh, lager.
It just hit me.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh my God, it's a good thing your act isn't called IPA.
Right. Although the Alchemist is a sponsor of mine, is a supporter.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I think my friend used to own that. With the one in Waterbury.
Yeah, Jen Kimmick and John Kimmick, Kimmick.
He must have sold it then.
They sold it, and then they just went into the beer, the Alchemist, and the Heady Topper, the Focal Banger, and all that stuff.
Ah, Heady Topper, yes. I know.
Yeah,
Heady
yeah.
Topper. Cool. So I thought you were from Vermont. I had in this research, I was like, from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Wow, my Nana will be so happy about that. She's from Philadelphia.
Yeah, I moved up here. Parents moved up when I was 7. And when I first did that first lager show, which is a theater show all around Vermont, I did say that. I always made a point. I didn't want to go out there because I was playing a Vermont character, obviously. Oh, look at the camera. A Vermont character. And I made sure to say that I was a native Vermonter. And that definition, of course, of being a Vermonter, you're a Vermonter. I don't know if you were born here or not, but it doesn't really matter to some people. And to some people it does. You could be a 7th generation Vermonter and look down on a 2nd generation Vermonter. So it's all subjective.
Yeah, we're an elite group here. I am
Really?
from Vermont originally.
Yeah, elite and proud. What town were you?
Colchester.
So you were a Laker, Colchester Laker?
Yep, that's right.
Cool.
Did I just go, yep, I did.
Yeah, you did.
So now, Jayson, how many generations were? I'm learning things because I don't know anything about
Me?
Vermont.
My generation, no, my dad was from Brooklyn and my mom, her whole side of the family was Lebanese. So I guess that'd be me. I'd be first.
Well, your daughter, you just showed me a picture, and I didn't respond to that because I was trying to get on. But anyway, she's a Vermonter. Right?
Believe it or not, that is Luke, and it's a boy, and he is beautiful. Everybody does.
Yeah,
everybody does that.
No, I looked real quick. I didn't
No, you didn't. Trust me. He is beautiful. He could be totally beautiful. Yeah,
not a bad thing to be.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, everyone. It happens in grocery stores all the time. I'm like, oh my god, your little girl. I'm just like, yeah.
Luke.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So let's see here. You so where in Philadelphia? Because I've heard a lot from my Nana about Philadelphia. She lived in the row houses.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So if you said something about Philadelphia, I'd probably recognize what you're talking about. I've heard a lot.
Right. Well, my mom's side was a row house. My dad's side, my dad was 50 when I was born. I sit here 61 years old. So he was born in 1911. So he actually grew up on a farm in Philadelphia. But yeah, you would recognize Tasty Cakes, hoagie. Instead of submarine, it's called a hoagie.
Oh yeah.
Things like the Chestnut Hill is where I was born. Chestnut Hill. I really don't know much about it.
How do you say the thing that warms your living room in the corner that has the like bar? I'm not going to say the word. So it's got the bars and it heats. What's that called?
A heat. I don't know.
It radiates heat.
Oh, radiator. Philly people. I don't have a Philly accent. Philly people have a really difficult accent to pin, but when you hear it, you know it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They almost sound a little bit snotty, but it's just their accent for some reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
They have similar things they say all the time. Yeah.
I'd say, Nana, why do you call it a radiator? And she goes, it's radiator. I'm like, but it radiates heat.
It's rad, man.
It's a radiator. Yep. And in a corner, if something's directly across the corner, yeah. But
right.
you don't get the Philadelphia kitty corner.
Kitty corner. Those are cool. Those are all cool things, Those are all fun things.
And in Vermont, we have creamies, which
Yeah.
In California, she's from LA, so it's ice cream.
Well, I'm from Baltimore originally, and I like to hope that I didn't retain any of those accents because
yeah, that's close to Philadelphia, relatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So you're in the know.
Yeah.
I've been to Philadelphia a couple times for like conferences and things, but
okay. So in Philadelphia, you were in theater? That's where you started in theater? Or
no, we moved here. I was in 2nd grade. Yeah.
So take me from Philadelphia to college. Like, how did you?
Okay, to Philadelphia, then Stowe, Vermont, and then third grade up in high school plays. I did, you guys, and musicals. I played basketball. I was a drummer. I'm a drummer, and high school plays. That's what I concentrated on. I wasn't a good student. Then when I got out of college, high school, I didn't want to go to college. I was out of college, high school, excuse me, for 4 years. And Champlain College then had sports, as you know. And the college coach, Bob Tipson, saw me playing, and he offered me a scholarship. That was a 2-year school. So I moved in from Stowe to Burlington, which in 1982 was kind of a big deal for a Stowe kid. I was in the big city. I went there for 2 years. I was recruited to go on to Castleton State. This is my claim to fame. The coach there recruited me to go to Castleton State. Long story short, that coach was, his name's Stan Van Gundy, and he's the head of operations at the Detroit Pistons right now. And he's coached Shaq and everything. So my claim to fame is I was recruited by an NBA coach, and I turned him down. So I didn't go, but here I was in Burlington after the 2 years of college. And I wanted to stay there. And I did a show at the Flynn Theater Cabaret because I wanted to do a show on that stage. I was 24. And I met someone whose boyfriend was doing a show at Vermont Repertory Theater, which was a guy named Robert Ringer. He started this small theater. And again, now, Jayson, that's back in 85 in Burlington. Not much going on. So if there was a good theater group there, it was kind of out there, and people saw it. And I did a play called Judavine, which was about Vermont, written by a poet named David Budbill from Wolcott. And it was like Our Town, but Vermont. And I played 3 different Vermont characters. I stayed on with Vermont Rep and did like Sam Shepard stuff. Now I'm doing serious stuff at Vermont Repertory Theater in my mid-20s, pumping gas at Bourne's Texaco on the Shelburne Road. I fell in love with that. Unlikely, because I'm a truck driving kind of a guy in high school and did concrete work and logged after high school in between college. So then I fell in love with that stuff. And at 29, this is the short story. At 29, I moved to New York City.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. What was it like going from, because it sounds like things are pretty small town. What was that transition like going from being there to New York City?
Good question. I moved to New York City to be an actor because I was curious, not because I was reading Shakespeare and studying, the Meisner method. It's because I was curious. How does a Stowe kid that went to movies all his life get up on that screen? Who likes theater? How do you get up? How do you get on that screen? So I moved to New York. I quickly got a job at William Doyle Galleries, which is an auction house on the Upper East Side. And this is crazy. I got a job as William Doyle's assistant, his right-hand man. I was his driver. I was his confidant. He had a wife and 3 daughters. I took them all to their little fancy schools and did that for 6 years. So that was an education. So I moved to New York City. The immenseness of the city is one thing, but I was really I had a comforting situation, the right-hand man of this family, and a very facile education of art and money. And William Doyle was at that time 47, and he'd started this auction house by himself. And I'm sitting next to him for 6 years, learning the ins and outs of business. And it wasn't like I was the driver with the hat. I was part of the family. So I learned all about the business at William Doyle Gallery. I loved New York City. I lived there 11 years. And Bill Doyle then dies after 6 years. I'm still working at the gallery. Kathy, his wife, takes over, says, "You can do anything you want here. We'll teach you to do it. To be an expert in American or Belle Epoque." I said, "No, I want to kick in the acting now. I've been in New York City 6 years. I kind of know it." And Jay Craven put me in a movie. He's a Vermont filmmaker. And I got my picture in the New York Times with Rip Torn. This was when independent movies were a new thing. So the New York Times came to this little Vermont town to cover it. And I got calls I sent out 100 of those pictures and my resume, and I got calls from 10 agents, and I started doing commercials.
Wow.
I have a look. That's all true. That's the short way of telling it. But I started doing commercials. I worked at the gallery 5 more years, did a ton of work in New York, a bunch of movies and TV and commercials. I did 30 national commercials, learned to be in front of the lens. I didn't sit in the trailer. I would always watch what was going on. The last couple of years in New York, I started driving home every weekend, which is 6 hours, because my dad was then, if I'm 35, he's 85. He was healthy. My mom's 20 years younger, so things were good. But I felt the pull to come back, and I wrote in the car, back and forth, 6 hours each time. I wrote the first logger stories while I was driving, and then I did them at a talent show, and I thought, people like this. I wonder if city people would like it, meaning Burlington. So I called up Jimmy Swift at first night, and he allowed me in. My show is rated SC, some cussing. It's first night. It's a family New Year's Eve celebration. But he said, we'll put a disclaimer out front. And I did 5 shows at first night, and people loved it. And then I just said, I'm going to do a tour of this. And I set up a tour, and kind of went crazy. And then after a year and a half of doing that, I thought, I'll make a video. And my friend said, that won't work because you're on stage, you're a theater guy. And I said, well, and so I'd go back to New York, still living in New York. I'd go back and I'd rent the video of Robin Williams and Richard Pryor. And I said, well, they're still funny when they're 1 inch tall. So I hired a crew, and I booked Vergennes Opera House for 2 nights. And I always produce myself. If I'm at the Vergennes Opera House, now it's a little different, but I would always rent the place because you do a lot better. If I rent the place for, let's say at that time, 2 nights, it cost $800. Put ads in the papers. There were newspapers then. If you put an ad, if you put $4,000 worth of ads in the Burlington Free Press, then everybody saw it. So that I would fill the place 2 nights. It's 400 people at that time, $15. That would be 10. That's like, isn't that $6,000? You know, and your expenses are $1,200. But if they would present me, they'd say, we'll give you $2,500. So I always produce myself. I produced myself 2 nights at the Vergennes Opera House. 2 nights we shot it with 3 cameras. We edited it. I got 1,000 of them in August 1998. And I said, I'm going to sell these 1,000 videos if I have to go door to door. And there were 160 independent bookstores in Vermont then. So I went around to all those. And at that point, I'd been doing movies. So they kind of knew who I was. They kind of heard about me from first night. And these bookstores took them. And then I called VP of Vermont Public TV. And they put me on, they put my video on as a pledge. And it was a snowy night in December. And everybody in Vermont was in their house, you know, four stations back then, watching. And all of a sudden they'd click on Vermont Public Television. And there's this guy standing on a black stage doing Vermont stuff. And it went nuts. So by that December, I produced it, I wrote it, I distributed the videos, I paid for it all with my money. I'd sold 12,000 of those videos.
Wow.
At $15 I was getting for each of them.
That's fantastic.
So that's how that whole thing started. Boom, 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 boom.
That's,
I've been doing it ever since 26 years ago.
Wow. That's great.
What's striking to me, I think, is what you had to do then to promote yourself and get it, like, versus like if you started now, right, you probably would just do something on YouTube maybe, or do you feel like it would be easier or harder if you had to start now?
You know, Bill Gates was born at the right time for what he knew how to do. Technically, and also as far as building that business. Steve Jobs. What if Steve Jobs was now 31 years old? The timing for what he was prepared to do wouldn't have been right. So the timing was right for me because I'm a disciplined hard worker. And Jayson knows there's Rena. It's Rena, right?
Yes.
There's 600,000 people in this state. So you can literally, if you want, touch every one of them. So you go from this town and you put up your posters and 300 people come. And then the next weekend you're at a town 25 miles away where lives all the relatives of the people who just saw you this weekend. And they tell all the relatives and it accumulates. So I did it right. That's the old fashioned way. The question was, would I be able to do it now? No, I'm not. If I was 30, maybe I would, but I don't do taped performances anymore because I don't want to learn how to put it on whatever you would put it on now. I'm kind of at the, done my thing. So now I wouldn't be interested in doing it this way. It was really footwork, live theater, and then the video. And I'm telling you, I've sold 100,000 of those things. I've done 3 videos and CDs, and I did calendars. back when people bought calendars. I said, how do I also, market myself differently? I'll do a calendar. And in one of the months I was naked except for covered a little bit. It was funny, a little couple of the elves holding the Christmas tree in front of me, that's all I had on. And those, I sold 10,000 of those things the first year, and then 9,000 the second year. People, it was a different time, and I was the right person for that time.
I tried to find the calendar online because I wanted to show Rena.
Yeah, I was gonna. Does somebody have the calendar?
I did 7 calendars. Yeah.
Wow.
And each month I thought of the shot. And I hired a kid that went to school with me, a guy who went to school with me, and it was a lot of work, but there was Borders. There were Barnes and Noble. I would go to the fairs and have my booth at the fair. I would do, and then people started calling me to do their banquets, to do their Christmas parties. So there were the live shows I would do. There were the videos. There were the holiday parties. There were the summer parties. And then the schools learned about me. And then I let it out that I was not the person that was on stage. I'm pretty much a really straight shooter. And I let that out. And then the schools got a hold of it. And they said, we want you to come in and talk to the kids in school who aren't really into school. And, so that's a part of it. So it was a really big business. I did, somebody called me to do columns in New York, and I was in 6 papers over there. And then I did so many of them, I collected those in 2 books. And then I sold thousands and thousands of those books. No distributor, no manager, no anybody.
That's
it's
amazing.
Unbelievable, really.
Yeah. Wow. How did you teach yourself that, how to do that? I mean, right now I would go online and look up how to do it, but how did you teach yourself how to do it?
Good question. I didn't know how to put ads in papers. Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
Brattleboro. What's the paper? Call them up. Can I place an ad? And I put my posters up. Where I learned to do all of it, if you remember, William Doyle. It was William Doyle Galleries. He was William Doyle. When we'd go to an estate and meet the lawyer and the kids of the person that had died, they'd go, "You're actually William Doyle." He always made his callbacks. He said, he was from Boston. Rustola, it's not yesterday, it's tomorrow. Always make your callbacks, treat everyone well. That's where I learned to do that business that way. Yeah, but it was the Yellow Pages and faxing the poster things back and forth. But that's all you knew. So it didn't seem like it was a bunch of work.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was my first band, I remember walking around Burlington, putting posters on boards and poles, whatever you could do, and I mean, that's what you did. 7 days paper, stuff like that. Our local free paper. It was all legwork. Now you just post it to your friends from high school.
Well, now you just post it.
Yeah.
But 17 other bands post it.
Yeah.
And when I started, Rena, literally, I'd put my poster up at a poster board at a small store, a country store, right? And it was my poster, and I went big, and it was always this mug. It was 17 by 11, and it was my poster, the lost cat, and the guy selling the wood. Now, there are theater groups and magicians, and every little town has farmers markets and festivals all the time. So really, first of all, what I did was unique. You had one guy standing up there talking about from up. There's no competition. I don't mean competition in somebody's better than someone else. I mean competition in what are we going to do tonight? Well, we could do this. When I was doing it, it was like, let's go see that guy for the 4th time.
Wow.
Because you were the only guy that was doing a thing. Was that?
Wow.
But I'm all over the state.
That was before the stand-up stuff in Burlington. So there was no stand-up place. Yeah.
Way before. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Way before.
Yeah.
So it's a multifaceted business, and I learned the business from Bill Doyle. I said, I'm going to go for, you guys, what do you do, Rena, for work?
So I'm a freelance writer and editor.
Right. So, and Jayson, I know, musician and a writer. So I always thought as a young person, when I did the plays as a young kid, we worked so hard on these plays, you rehearse, maybe it's summer theater, rehearse all, and then you do it 3 times. I always thought you're putting so much work into it, man. The work really is getting it out there. And then if you start getting paid for it, well, it's even like, well, hey, Rusty, would you like to do columns? Well, I don't really know how to write. Well, just write what you want and kind of like your stories. And like, can I do it about anything? Yeah. Okay. I didn't go, nah, I don't really know how to do that. I took everything. I did everything I could.
Wow.
Boy Scouts would call me in Rutland. They'd say, hey, we'd like you to come down, talk to but we're having the Eagle Scout, presentation of 2 Eagle Scouts. It's on February 3rd. It's a Tuesday. Would you come down and talk to us? There'll be 50 of us there. I'd be like, yes. I wasn't like, no, I'm not going to drive 3 hours in a potential snowstorm to talk to 50 people. I was like, you're damn right, for no money. You know what I mean? Not everybody paid. So I just did everything.
Yeah, that's the way it kind of was. I mean, when I was in the band, same thing. You'd play Nectars for like on a Wednesday night for like nobody and make $30. Like,
right, but
much.
wouldn't you maybe get a wedding gig out of that?
Well, our band didn't like doing weddings, but we got offered a lot. But yeah,
yeah.
Just like what you just said, we actually didn't do things we didn't like to do, but we're probably not as hard of workers.
Well, I was just one guy. I didn't have any overhead. I still am just one. Yeah. So that's basically the whole thing about the log. That's how the logger's gone. It still goes,
Now, how did you get involved with David Giancola? Is just through your agent, or did you know him through? He's David Giancola is a filmmaker in Vermont. He started at like 19. I think he got a small loan from someone, and then just made a bunch of movies that with like Hollywood people and stuff.
They were like B movies, Rena, and his loan was from his father. Mr. Giancola owns a lot of real estate in Rutland. Well, when I was starting out in my early 30s, mid 30s, when I was still in New York, I would come home in the summers. Bill would let me come home in the summers. In the summers, New York shuts down, and I would do summer stuff. And David was doing these movies. Well, all the theater people, my peers, when David Giancola was doing shoot 'em up movies, schlocky B movies, and I was like, well, I'm in New York. This guy's cool. He's paying. I was a Screen Actors Guild actor. Yeah, I'll do it, David. Couple weeks on the film. I did a 50-foot fall. I learned to do a gun work on David movies. I worked with Billy Ray Cyrus and people like that. But I learned from him. He knew I was doing. So he knew I was out there. He knew I did the Jay Craven things. It was David Giancola making movies up here, Jay Craven, and a woman named Nora Jacobson. I was in 2 of her movies. I just went for it all.
Wow.
I would drive 2 days just to do an audition that's a minute long, and then drive to New York. And Jay Craven put me in his second movie. It was A Stranger in the Kingdom. I worked with Martin Sheen, Ernie Hudson, people like that, and that was a really good movie. And then it all transferred down to New York. And
yeah, we were in Radical Jack together.
You did Radical Jack?
Yeah, I had a ponytail then.
You must have been really young.
Yeah, it was in 2006 or 5 or 4 or 7, somewhere in there.
Were you the part of the bad guy group that was?
I was the bodyguard that stands outside the plane, and then I go in there and I'm the first guy that gets shot in the warehouse.
Yeah, I remember the warehouse. I blew up in the warehouse.
Yeah, you caught a grenade.
Wait, so you two were in the same movie, but you don't remember.
Yeah,
you don't remember.
I remember him. But I was just a kid.
I remember you now. No, I remember you. You weren't dressed in black, like.
Oh yeah, well, I always dressed in black. But yes, I got squibs and everything. It was cool because it's the first time and last time I've ever been squibbed, were the bullets, and they don't have a big budget, so they'd be like, "Okay, you sure you got this?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Okay, because we only have one T-shirt," and I was like, "Okay." And so I just went like this, and it worked somehow.
Yeah. But me during that, I was in New York doing stuff, so that was a very integral part of my education and how to do that stuff.
Oh yeah, it was fun to be on the set because he was kind of new also, so you could watch the learning process, and David took to it so quickly, and he's so good at organizing a set, a shoot. Oh my God. Were you in any of the were you in like Me, Myself, and Irene and What Lies Beneath were both came to Vermont? Did you do anything on those?
No, I didn't. I mean, no, I was in New York doing stuff, and I kind of missed auditions or whatever. And but no, I wasn't. Yeah, were you?
I did. Yeah, I was crew, but it was great. I mean, great pay on those sets. I got to. I almost hit Harrison Ford with a fly swatter by accident.
Did you?
Yeah. I was a fly wrangler on What Lies Beneath. So
hey man, it's all important. And, I worked on a movie that Harrison Ford was in called The Devil's Own. Brad Pitt was in it.
Mm.
And I was a stuntman on that movie, hired in 2 weeks in Brooklyn night shoots. And I got to work with Brad Pitt. But Rena, you probably know this too. That was a huge thing for me because the cinematographer was Gordon Willis, who was the cinematographer on The Godfather 1, The Godfather 2, Manhattan, what is that? I worked with Gordon Willis, man. These are things that aren't braggadocio. They're just things that I can say to myself, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But definitely. I didn't meet Harrison Ford. I didn't work the days that he worked.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
I bet.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Now, when you were in New York, I didn't know this either. You were on Saturday Night Live?
When you're in New York, I don't know if it's like this in LA, Rena, or whatever. When I went to New York, people said, they said, don't do extra work. Well, why not? Because then you'll get kind of stuck in that extra work situation and people just get stuck there and that's all they do. So, okay, I won't do extra work. And I was getting enough commercials and little TV spots. So then my agent called and said, Saturday Night Live is looking for a country looking guy. There's 2 feuding families. This is a great little story. There's 2 feuding families in the woods trying to get the same water. And they want some extras. And so I said to my agent, nah, I don't want to do extra work. I hung up the phone, called back. I said, this is Saturday Night Live. You might meet someone on that set. You might get to then do it, be on inside sometime. That'd be a great experience. So I called up and they said, yeah, we want you. So I showed up and all those fake commercials in the early years of Saturday Night Live were directed by a guy named Jim Signorelli, very famous guy. And so now I'm on the set with Jim Signorelli and they call all the extras out. They say, come out here in the parking lot. We want to line you up and set you where we want to set you and have you play the parts we want you to play, even though the background. So Will Ferrell was the head of one of the families and he was new then. And Chris Farley was there. So I see Will Ferrell, again, he wasn't Will Ferrell, but I knew he was on that show. So I stood near him and Will Ferrell and I are the same height. And Signorelli was looking at people go, yeah, you wear this, you're going to stand over there by the lock. And he said, he pointed at me, he said, you shadow Will, you're his right-hand man in this commercial spot that we're filming. So that means that I'm going to be in a 2 shot with a lead. That's more money. That takes you from an extra to a co-star. So I called the agent up, payphone, said, hey man, I think they got me, so then they want to talk to the producer. So I got more money, but that thing ran and ran and ran. So yeah, now I'm doing the logger, the early years of the logger. I've been in Black Dog with Patrick Swayze. I've been in Saturday Night Live. So I go to the schools and talk. I go to the banquets. I'm on this guy that's been on Saturday Night Live. And, so all these things. So that's how that happened. And I wouldn't have done it, but it worked out great. But I was smart enough. I was like, I'm going to stand right next to Will Ferrell, man. And Signorelli said, yeah, you guys look good together.
Oh yeah. That's a skill.
Was really savvy that you knew to do that, to position yourself right in the right place at the right time.
Kind of an introvert, kind of quiet. I don't say much, so on those sets when I was new, I would just be looking at stuff. And if you had an instinct, you went for it. Sometimes the instinct wasn't right. Well, that time it worked out. But that's how I got on Saturday Night Live, Jayson. And I never got the call to be an extra in the studio, which would have been their gas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're a very striking person. You have a lot of your features. I mean, if you're in a room, there's Rusty. I mean, before we knew who you were, but you just are striking in general. Like you have a lot of features that make people look at you.
Well, I was landscaping one summer and with this guy, this Vermonter guy, and he knew, and I was been in New York trying to be an actor, and he's a buddy of mine in Vermont. And he said, after work today, I'm going to do some work for the soap opera actor who lives in Stowe Hollow. You want to come? And I didn't have an agent or anything. I was just trying. And I said, no, I don't want to work after work. He said, well, which, you don't want to meet this guy? I said, yeah, I'll meet him. So I go up and there's this guy named Benjamin Hendrickson who'd gone to Juilliard. John Houseman was his mentor. And Mark says, there's my buddy Rusty. He's trying to be an actor. And Benjamin is about 45. He looks at me, he said, yeah, you have a good look. That's what you're saying. And I didn't know that. And I kind of what he says, you could be a tough guy, a country bumpkin, a cop. You're very saleable. When you get back to New York in the fall, give me a call. This is how I got commercials. This is no shit. That's how I got my agent by landscaping in Stowe, Vermont. He said, you give me a call, literally.
Wow.
And I'll hook you up with my agency, commercial agency. Right. So what did I do, Rena? Yeah, I called him. And he said, yeah, Sue King is her name. She works at J. Michael Bloom. I met Sue King, 2 auditions, and I'm flying to Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, doing a commercial for Renault, where I met Polly Perrette. She was on that. And then in another 3 weeks, I was going to LA to do a Kellogg's Cornflakes commercial, all me. I literally got my commercial agent by landscaping. But he did say, wow, you're very saleable. Well, from my opinion, everybody's very saleable. You know what I mean? But everybody has a look. But
I was like, what does that mean?
No, I don't agree with that at all. There's a lot of like, if you in Vermont, a lot of people look just like the last person you saw in Vermont. And probably everywhere it's like that. Not everybody has a look.
Yeah, how do you define a look, right? Like who has it, who doesn't?
Charisma. Well, for instance, I was in a movie with James Coburn and he has a look.
Right.
All right, my acting coach, this is meant to be taken as just a label. It doesn't mean sex, but he said it's called fuckability. Yeah. That's what it is. Like he goes, Gene Hackman, fuckability. It doesn't mean you want to have sex with him. It's just what you need to be in movies and get cast. You can't not have that to, succeed.
Yeah. And I think Benjamin was saying, in my case, Rena, specifically, this mug is a cop. This mug is a bad guy. This mug is a country boyfriend. This mug is I did 4 Chevy ads, like a rock. This mug is the guy that has the 2 little kids and drives the truck with the cowboy hat on and stuff. That's what this mug ended up physical. So it's not only a look, but saleability with that look.
You're also the creepy guy that eats worms.
Oh, yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
I can now, like talking to you, I can see all of these things, that the trucker, the creepy guy eating worms, the cop. I can see it.
Yeah, and I think some people, the look is saleable maybe just for one thing. Those commercials where it's the nebbish guy, he always plays the nebbish guy, and you kind of go, I've seen that guy in other nebbish guy parts. The guy's not going to be the cop. He's going to be that guy, or maybe the kid on the third buddy of the guy. But hey, do you guys mind if I light up a stogie?
I'm cool with it.
No.
Yeah, it's called
not in the room.
it's that's your Who Am I? That's the did you take any acting lessons actually? That's a good question actually, because
right, good. I was down there, I was like 34. Bill was still alive, and I was kind of like, no, I'm doing this job. This is a fascinating job. You can't even believe if I told you. But anyway, I got to get into acting. I'll name drop again. Here's the story. I got to get into an acting class. Why? I had been acting. You can always learn. You can always study. Because I wanted to see what the vibe was, what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. So I called my friend John Fusco, who lives in Stowe, good friend. And he's huge. He's big. Look him up, Rena, John Fusco. screenwriter.
Yeah,
Young
writer.
Guns. Young
Children of
Guns.
the Gods. Is that right?
I don't think so. Young Guns 1 and 2, The Babe, Hidalgo. What was that one, the Bonnie and Clyde one that was out recently with Woody Harrelson and anyways,
yeah.
huge. He was doing Thunderheart with Val Kilmer and Sam Shepard at the time. And I said, John, man, I want to get into an acting class, but I don't want to be like with a bunch of 18-year-olds. He said, I'll talk to Bob. He was producing Thunderheart with Robert De Niro. I'll talk to Bob and ask him what's a good class for a 34-year-old guy who's done stuff. So De Niro tells him, George Loris, he does private classes. I get George Loris's assistant's number. He says, come meet George Loris downtown. I go to this dark, dingy theater, and his assistant says, sit up on that stage. So George Loris, this guy, opposing guy, comes down. Again, I'm still like, I'm new to this. He sits down and he goes, now, who recommended me to you? And I said, well, I got a friend who's a screenwriter and he's producing something with Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro. So he's like checking me out. I said, well, he's a friend of my friend. And he said, you're the guy. And Laura said, well, we do scenes here. And at the end of 3 months, I invite industry people in. This class, the people are experienced already. I don't know if you are. So if you want a chance to get in my private class, walk over to the other side of the village and enroll at Lee Strasberg. I teach a class at Lee Strasberg. When you enroll, tell them you want to be in my class and I'll audition you through that class. He's checking me out. I walked right down frig over to Lee Strasberg, got in there, and I got into George Loris's class, and I did what he said, which was basically to all the students, don't do anything. When you do the scene, don't do the scene. Just say the words. And I did. And after about 2 classes, he said, you can join my private class. So I took 3 months of Lee Strasberg, 2 classes there. And then I studied with George for two times. And it was good. Yeah. I didn't really meet anybody that was a connection or anything, but it was fun. But that's how I got in, use what you can.
Yeah, feel free to light up. I when I ask you a question, you have to stop, so I feel bad. I did. I
thought it'll be cool to see.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll give you a little chance while I'm talking.
No, go ahead.
So I was in Cameron Thor's and Jock McDonald's acting class in Vermont.
Josh, I know Jock McDonald. Yeah, I did Terra Nova, a great guy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Tense. Cool,
really good too. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I would love to get him in the interview actually too. Yeah, and that's where like we learned about the Who Am I and stuff like that. And actually it brought me to a question I wanted to ask you about. Do you have any particular kind of acting I guess style or theory that you like? Do you endow objects and stuff like that, or do you just like how do you what would you say your style is?
Well, that's god darn good quick, because when I was starting out in doing theater, I kind of really was, I was doing method stuff. I sunk into it, man, and that's why I don't do it anymore, because it was freaky. But yeah, I'm sense memory stuff, inner monologue stuff. I did Buried Child, which is a Sam Shepard play, and I played a real, Sam Shepard-y part. And I remember I was living on Colchester Avenue, actually. And I would go to the PNC at night late, and I would just be that guy, and I would, freak the register person out because they could see it. So I would really worked on it. And, but basically, now the stuff that I do, I just did a movie with Jay Craven called Lost Nation. It's about Ethan Allen and stuff. And I played Asa Locke, historical character. Anyway, now, I found out, Rena, it goes back to the thing we were talking about. I'm not getting huge parts anymore. I didn't go that route. I moved out of New York and I did the lager. It's the right decision. But the parts I've gotten in movies and TV are because of what I look like. Once they give me the part, I don't have to do anything. So if they say, you're a killer, Rusty, we don't get to see a kill. We only have one scene, and they talk to you and you're killing, you light up a cigar. So if I do this, I'm the killer. I don't have to do a fucking thing. so my style is I don't do a fucking thing.
That's good. Film likes that.
Yeah. I mean, I did a couple leads in movies, Mud Season and stuff, and you have to, then you have an arc and you have to do, you know, it's more complicated, let's say, than that. I wouldn't want anybody to think I'm downplaying that craft. But at the level that I was doing it, I just have to basically show up and say, Law and Order. I did 2 Law and Orders. I was a freaking arsonist in one of them, and I was a kidnapper. I kidnapped Amanda Pete. I met Amanda Pete. She was just starting out. But anyway, I get shot in the back in that one. Just because of what I look like. I didn't have to do a thing. You know, Jerry Orbach, who I bowed down to, and Sam Waterston, they're interrogating me about burning the thing down. And they're just saying their lines, and I'm just saying my lines back to them. So I'm not having to stay up at night on those things and really study. I kind of figured that out. I take it real seriously and I'm prepared, but you know, you rehearse, and any director, if most of the direction they're going to give most people is do it a lot less.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard for a theater person to move to film. Really hard. It's like they always want to talk to the person in the back, and now you're talking to someone that's a couple inches away from you, really. It's really what it's the difference. So like you get a theater actor, I've cast movies before, and you get theater actors and they're like, oh my God, what are you talking? And if the horizon is high, it's okay. Like if it's like a wacky comedy, then you can be crazy. But like my movies, I always made some kind of horror thing or whatever, and you needed to be subtle. And that's what film likes then, you know? So it's a hard transition if you're a theater person, generally.
I can't agree with you more. And then the thing is, I did theater as a kid. I moved to New York. And when I started doing commercials, I just watched these people. And I learned what you said by just watching them. I said, oh, I don't have to do that or whatever. You know, I just have to go in the lens, let the lens do the work. And also your wardrobe in the background, and the lighting. I mean, I could also light the cigar and be the guy that the girl wants to marry, you know? Same fucking guy.
Yeah.
I like that demonstration. So you said you decided not to go, you went to New York and you decided not to stay there and do that route, right? And you went back to Vermont, and then you said that was the right decision. So talk about that, like what went into that decision, and then like how did you start creating the logger, and tell us about that character.
The industry work, the commercials, the TV, the movies were happening at the same time that the logger. In fact, I wrote the second act of the first logger on the set of Black Dog, which is a movie with Patrick Swayze and Truck the Meat Loaf. So I was getting work, but this logger thing, apparently, Rena, and probably, I love Vermont. I never really moved to New York City. I love Vermont. You know, I was there all the time, but I commute, you know, it was like I was still here. So a very integral part of that answer, this answer is my father 50 when I was born. Now I'm 36. He's 86 at that point. Living up here, my mom 20 years younger, but still I felt it was palpable. I'd be laying on the little thing, this futon, one of my apartments in 91st and First, and it was palpable, the feel to pull and go back there. Now the logger was just blowing up too. And here's another answer part of that, to do the logger right, to answer all the calls from the Boy Scouts, to do the calendar photos, to write new material, to drive to 100 miles away and do that show that night, to do that right, well, the way I thought, I had to be here all the time. Sure, I could have said, hey, if you get a good audition for me, innovative artist, call me down there. So you're going to drive down, do a 2-minute audition, drive back, you're going to get a call the next day for a call back. It wasn't going to work. I chose that. To say it was the right decision. The other one would have been the right decision too. But a lot of it was family, and a lot of it was because of it was Vermont. And I had done a lot of stuff down there. Tell you the truth, I don't like movies as much. Movies and commercial TV. I don't like doing it as much. That's another thing. you get in front of 200 people, and I do 2 hours straight. It's just a different deal, you know. I don't know if you've ever done anything, Rena, but I know Jayson has, and that's a different feeling, and I prefer that one.
Now, you worked with Meat Loaf, and didn't he have something to do with you designing the loggers, the show?
I wrote the second act of the logger then, and everybody asks what you're doing. I got this play I'm going to do. I don't know what to do. I don't have, so Meat was going to use a cigar smoker. It's not where I got it from, but he said, well, when I start, what you do is you find a place up there, the Rusty Nail and Stove, and if you know a guy, tell him that you'll do the show there, and you want a certain amount of money down and part of the door. And so that was that. He helped me with that, and then I love Merle Haggard, and Meat Loaf's driver was this woman who had dated Merle Haggard. She bragged about that. I love Merle Haggard. Patrick Swayze's stand-in was this ex-Marine named Scott. He's a Southern guy. He's a more outgoing guy. So she said, why don't you come to the show? Merle was playing up the road, in Georgia. We shot that, and I'll let you meet Merle. I'll get you to meet. I'm like, so Scott was like, yeah, we'll go. So we did. She comes to us after the show. Their buses are parked face to face the way they do. She says, well, I'll get you to see Merle, but we're going to sit you on this bus for a while first. I sit on that bus. Who's on that bus? Rena, these names won't mean anything to you till I explain it. Bonnie Owen was Merle's backup singer. I listened to her harmonies since I was 15, 16, 18, driving dump truck. Bonnie Owen was married to Merle Haggard at one point in her life. Bonnie Owen was married to Buck Owens at one point. And Bonnie Owen at that present was married to Fuzzy Owen, who was Merle Haggard's producer, who was on the bus too. So you go on the bus, Bonnie Owen and Fuzzy Owen, they're all over the road. So they're nice as shit. So what do? Well, I'm an actor. I'm doing a play, and I'm going to do it around, and I don't know what I can do. I'm just trying. It's going to be funny. It's about fun. And Fuzzy was like, own it. Don't give any of it away. You keep it yourself. He was a producer. So I got that information from him too. And then, by the way, at the end of that, we were on that bus. So to me, sitting with Fuzzy Owen, who produced the Beatles, some real famous guy. They always talk. George Martin. It's like a Beatles fan sitting with George Martin. And then we went off the bus, and I got to meet Merle, but he didn't give me any advice. He was nice though. So all these stories are true, man. It's all that's how I did.
Wow, that's amazing. Because I mean, you're just a harder worker than I am. Because I wanted a lot of the same things you did, and I just didn't do the work like that.
But remember, you're a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And a musician in a band. Lightning struck in a bottle. I'm a guy. I'm fucking Mark Twain. I'm one dude standing there. You got to plug amps in. You got to rent cameras. And how many filmmakers are there just in Vermont?
Yeah.
Let alone the United States. And if the goddamn United States, there ain't nobody doing, so I'm not just, trying to say, yeah, but no, it's a different thing. It's a different thing. What I did, it was just the luck of the draw that what I liked to do was this thing that you could. And by the way, Rena, the product was good. The shows were good, and people went fucking nuts. It hit a nerve. It was playing. It was speaking in deference to the native Vermonter. And when I was in that play, Judavine, doing the shows with Vermont Rep, I saw that the native Vermonter liked to see that. They liked to see themselves. That's not why I wrote that. I wrote that because as a kid, after school, I did the logging and the concrete, and I was attracted to the working class person more than, I'm not doing a show called The Doctor, though I think doctors are great, men and women alike. But so, yeah, it hit a nerve. I mean, I do 2 or 3 graduation speeches a year, didn't do one this year, but yeah.
So it sounds like you just really found your niche, right? Like that. It just so happened that whereas Jayson with you, like what Rusty was saying, you have a lot more competition because it's not such a narrow focus.
Thanks, guys.
Well, hey, making films, let's face it, making films, you're a freelance writer, Rena. I mean, to sell that is like, you never see that movie Free Solo with that Alex Humboldt climbing up the rock face without any ropes. It's like climbing up fucking El Capitan with no ropes, man. It's almost impossible. And now it's even, more difficult. It's easier because you could be 16, make a whole film on your phone, and it could be good. But okay, now what?
Yeah. Now you have to give it away for free.
With my thing, I call up the town hall. I rent the theater. I put up the posters. Everybody knows me, blah, blah, blah. And they come, especially then because there wasn't that much going on.
Yeah. Now, when you went around New England, do you change your act depending on if you're in like Maine or New Hampshire, or do you just like, or at all, or?
No, because it's just a Vermont guy who, translate. That's one thing people say, well, people from out of state don't like it. They've said that for years. Well, that's not true because I'll do banquets and it'll be the real estate, the top, real estate people from the East Coast, Maryland, Virginia, all the way up at the Sheridan. There's 150 of them. So those people from all over. I mean, kind of funny's funny. There are a few things. If I'm talking about deer jacking, Jayson, I could put a couple other words in there that explains that. But for the most part, it's just human stuff. I mean, I've done it in front of people from Alaska, and diverse social backgrounds. It's not just all the certain type of person, but they laugh.
So when you do your act, is it the same thing every time, everywhere? Do you have different versions? Do you switch it out at all? Or you've been doing it for so many years. Have you changed it over the years?
That's good. When it first started, the first 2 or 3 years, it was word for word, comma for comma, because I was just getting it out to everybody. And that was the first video. And then I wrote a whole new show, and that was the second video. And I wrote a whole nother new show. That was the third video. So now I have, I can do some of the classics, and I have I have a whole bit about getting vaccinated and all, so to speak. And I do, it's less, Jayson, it's less I'm the logger now. It's more, actually, that's a good thing you asked that. It's more me now. I'll go up there and kind of just be me. Instead, the first one was I started out there as a fourth wall. So it was a theater show, and I didn't go out. Now I do crowd work. And it's just me, and I'm out in the lobby when people come in, so I'm watching stuff, and I can call on what I saw this guy doing before. So it's a multimedia theater show, and so it's much different. But I'm always writing new stuff, and then there's that part of it. There's the comedian part of it where you write stuff here, and I think it's funny, and then I have to do it. I did a 50th high school reunion Saturday, and I didn't try any new stuff there, but I have a 90-minute show to do at banquets, and I'll try 5 minutes of new stuff, and I'll see what worked and what didn't, and then next thing you know, in 2 years, that 5 minutes is really funny.
Now
that's what Jerry Seinfeld does, that same shit. Before he does this, they all go and they just work out.
Do you?
I like to go to the Comedy Store, all the time, like out here, because I think that's really cool to watch them in that process. And I've seen like a couple people a couple times, and you see them tweaking it, and I think that's pretty cool.
But I back it up with an hour and 15 minutes of strong stuff. See that so I can fail.
But it's interesting because you don't have that like lab, so to speak, that like, right. Whereas like these comedians can go to like the Improv or the Laugh Factory or Comedy Store, you have to try it like at each gig.
Yeah.
So that sounds even more challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I could go to the Vermont Comedy Club. There's a comedy club. I'm actually an investor there, Jayson, but I know those folks. I could go there, but you get 5 minutes, Rena. Yeah, you're right. So it's all you get. So yeah, and these guys and girls can go to the Jon Stewart, they'd go to the Comedy Store, and then they'd get on the subway and go to the Dangerfields, and then go back into the 11 o'clock show. Yeah, man, they're getting that stuff honed fast. So yeah, I got, especially now, I don't have a show. I got a show the 16th, and then I have a show the 25th.
Where?
The 16th is on my truck, my Mack truck shows. I have a Mack truck now, and It's outside. It's a benefit for the Highgate Library. So that's in Highgate. You'll see it on Facebook. It'll be fun.
Oh yeah.
And then the 25th is in Guildhall. You know where Guildhall is? It's in the
Sounds
Kingdom.
familiar.
It's in the
Oh,
Kingdom,
no, I
up
don't
by
know.
Lancaster, New Hampshire. In fact, we shot Stranger in the Kingdom. We shot the courtroom stuff up in Guildhall. That was back. I was 38 years old, and that's where I worked with Mark Sheen, right in that place. But anyway, so I have those two, and I'm constantly reading, not constantly because I don't have to do it constantly now. But today I called a farm stand in Sheldon. They've had me appear there the last 3 summers. I just come up with my guitar they have a client day. But now I said, hey, can I bring my truck up and do a show there? I'll produce it. And, all the farm stand people will be, so there it is. So I'm going to do that one. Smuggler's Notch Distillery. They make spirits. They're another sponsor. I'm going to do my truck show out behind their place in Jeffersonville. So it's constantly producing. Most of the work is the producing, obviously. It's like when you're making a movie.
So everything you do it's all live. Like it's not like somebody also films it and puts it on video or something.
No, I had a buddy lived here. He's in his mid-30s for a year and a half, and he was going with me, and it was great. And I could do this myself too. And he would shoot me on stage, and then I'd put 17 seconds of that on Instagram and stuff. And that was pretty good. And I could set up my camera and do that too. But I'm very content with the model I have now. And I do the Instagram stuff and everything, but you notice if you watch my Instagram, I'm not funny. I'm just myself, and people don't mind that. But yeah, it's mostly
people. Well, when you're on Instagram, I mean, I've seen a lot of them. You're just talking, but people already want to know you, so it's a sort of celebrity talking on Instagram is what it is. So of course,
right, and I know a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When I do live, hey Jayson, and then I always say, so Jason's a guy I worked with. He's a filmmaker and a musician. He's got a family, and and he's a cool guy, and blah blah blah, whatever. And so I talked to, and then a story will come up. I actually ate worms on it, yeah. So it's just, I mean, I'm not a genius sitting here saying, it's amazing what folks will watch, but I'm always. It's like when I first started out, I said, I'm not a Vermonter. Somebody, a really well-known Vermonter who's in the business said, don't let people know you're not a Vermonter. I drove home from that meeting with him. He's a mentor. And I said, no, I'm going to go the other way. I can't be doing that. That's stolen valor.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that sounds like the right call, because then if somebody finds out that, and they really care about that, then that is like a breach of trust. So
yeah, honesty's the best, definitely.
And this guy didn't know this thing would have that much legs. He thought maybe I was going to do 17 shows, so it made more sense.
Yeah. Now you also wrote 2 books, and you said
There's,
earlier you're not a writer. What's going on?
Well,
editors, Jayson.
Editors.
When I was in New York, I needed to get a radio station behind me. And I was still working. I was running the elevator. Bill was gone, and I was writing the logger. And I sent stuff to WOKO, Jayson. It's a country station, Rena, up here. It was just turned to country. And the GM got back to me. He said, yeah, I'll maybe sponsor you. Send me your stuff. So I went right to Kathy Doyle, 6 hours away, the boss at that point. I said, Kathy, I got this meeting. And I could come and go anytime I wanted because I was doing auditions. I got to go up and I got to go to Vermont by tomorrow. So I went up, put that, and I didn't put my stuff on his desk. I was there. And he said, yeah, you can call in and we'll sponsor you for these next 5 shows, and call in the morning. And I left that office that day, the station. I said, boy, if something ever happens with this, I could be calling in once a week. And I've been calling in once a week for 26 years in that radio station. But I was on that radio station. A publisher who had the 6 papers over in Elizabethtown, New York, across the lake there, Rena. He called me up. He said, hey, would you like to write columns? I said, oh, I'm not a writer. He says, well, I have a whole bit about that. It's kind of funny, but anyway, I don't know adjectives and verbs. That's what I mean. I didn't know I could put together a column. And I said, yeah, I'll try it. If I can write about anything I want, and it can be as long as I want it to be or short as I want it to be, and no one edits it. And he said, yeah. So for 7 years, I was in 6 papers. I was making like 300 a week, just writing columns. but I would only do it if they were going to be good. So I remember the day that I was walking down the street in Burlington and somebody rolled down the window and said, "Hey, Russ, I really like your column." So I was like, all right, they're okay. So then I got enough of them. I thought, if these go good, I can collect them into a book. So those are reworked columns collected into 2 books. There's like 90 stories in each book, self-published, not edited for commas. And if do you capitalize Pop-Tart, but not edited. Take this paragraph out, put this here. Because here again, Rena, we go back to the honesty. I'm not Christopher Hitchens, I'm not a writer's writer. So if I'm gonna sell you something, it's not gonna be something that I wrote and then some real writer came and made it right. It's gonna be wrong, right?
Yeah, one of them's called Scrawlins.
Scrawlins.
And
The second one is Scrawlins Too, T-O-O. I credit my mom for coming up with that title, T-O-O. Yeah, and they sell still. And I read them now. They're pretty good.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
And you also.
So that's how that happened. And again, I took the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Now, for music, that's not part of the logger, right? The music that you do?
It is now. I was a drummer, so here's the music thing. So now I play the guitar, you could say. So about 10 years ago or 12 years ago, out of the 26 years, or 13, 15, I was doing the logger for a while, and I said, "Hey man, I'm going to have a talent show, variety show, the logger." And I did that for a while, and I got a band together. Probably some guys, Mark Lurvy, some guys you might know. Anyway, and I had a guitar. I had a Larrivee, and I was really, so I got a guitar when my dad went into the nursing home. He was 92 and I was 42, and I bought a guitar so I could learn a couple chords and do like the hymns, on a hill far away. So I did that, and then I got pretty good at it. And I have a fiddle player that opens up my show. For years I did. And then I'd go to his house and I'd back him up on the fiddle, and then I'd start singing Merle Haggard, "I'm proud to be an Okie." So that stuff is right in the wheelhouse of the people that watch me. So I started adding the guitar little by little, and now 15 years later, I can actually play the guitar pretty good. And I hooked up with Patrick Ross, and we've done a lot of musical stuff. So yeah, Jayson, when I do the truck show in Highgate, I have bought 2 speakers, and I'll play a couple songs. Yeah. Low battery.
Uh-oh.
And I had it charged right up. Anyway, we'll go as long as we can. No, I can plug it in.
Oh, sure. By the way, speaking of guitar, Andre McCara says hello.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Your sound is weird right now.
I think for a little bit.
What'd you say? After I said Andre said hi. Wow, you just actually disappeared.
I was like, he just vanished.
Wow, he's also a magician.
I just said talk among yourselves. There's that. This is so cool. You guys are teaching me all about this technical stuff.
The way that just happened visually for us. Like,
yeah, you were there, and then you just went pop, and you were gone. It was so weird. My God.
Hopefully this is working.
Yeah, it looks good right now and everything, and yeah. Now, did you work with Andre or did you just?
Yeah, one of my guitar players couldn't when I had that big band, and he came in and played a couple tunes. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's good. And of course Tim Cavanaugh, because he said hello as well.
Well, that was another thing. Tim Cavanaugh, Rena, was friends with Jayson and everything, and he's a great guy, and he had his own Johnny Carson show. He produced that himself. And that was just when my thing was hot. I was the first guest. So I would be on every year during my birthday, and you just could. It wasn't an effluvia of content. So if you had a thing, people were seeing your thing. And then you would be on Tim Cavanaugh's show, and then you would be on CAX the next time you're coming out with a new lager show. And then I did a tour of the jails. I did 4 tours of our 7 jails over the course of this career. Yeah. So
you're like
when
Johnny Cash.
3 years into it, I went into those jails and I did all that stuff and contacted the jail people and everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
God,
What
you're
was
a hard
that?
worker.
Yeah, what was that like?
It was good. You don't ever want to go to jail because the atmosphere is it's not good. The air isn't good. But I'll tell you what it was like. This sounds cliche, but of any audience, those guys came up to me, and there was one woman's. The woman's jails were the most crazy. I'll tell you what. So they come up, hey man, thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. And then I'll be walking on the street. Again, it's hard to tell. It's hard to understand how small this place is. I'll be walking through a store and a lady will come up to me and go, hey, my husband's up in St. Johnsbury. You did your show up there. Thanks for doing that. So they're very appreciative. The women's jail, there were some urban women and there were some Vermonter women, and they were at odds. So now I'm a guy going in there with the cut off shirt and doing some, mildly sexual selling sort of sexuality.
Yeah, and he's ripped too. He works out.
So do you have let me ask this. Let's back up. Do we have a different show for the women's prison than we do for the men's prison, or do we have the same show?
No,
different calendar too.
Or it could be the same.
You're like in pause mode just now, so you might want to.
You have to remember, these Vermont had grown up. Say they're 18 to 24. They'd grown up watching my videos at Christmas time with their parents. So they knew me. This is a big fucking deal. And I've been in a movie. The urban women didn't know me, but the urban women were sure as hell going to laugh louder than them Vermont women. And it became really full of a lot of energy. You can get on and Google 7 days, did a big article of my jail tour, and she describes it really well. It was actually the guys' jail. So I would do crowd work and everything. So you can go out and do crowd work with these girls, Rena, and you could really spice it up. And they were just fucking, at any moment the lid could come off and the guards were standing right there. The guys weren't like that.
So did you have, this is wildly interesting. So what was the most memorable moment or were there 1 or 2 moments that really stuck out?
At the jail?
Yeah, at the jail. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a benign one, but like one of the first jails I'd done, like I said, I was doing graduation speeches. One of the first jails I did, I forget where it was, maybe Newport, and they had me in this little gym. And again, the climate is very dingy, and the guys are sitting on the floor in the gym, and I'm doing my show, and I look down, and I say, Nick, this guy Nick, I recognized him. Well, a month earlier, he'd been in a class that I did the graduation speech for.
Oh, that's
yeah. So I said, hey, Nick. He's like, hey. And I said, just reflex. I said, how's it going? And he goes, not too good. So that was pretty interesting at the time. And also the first jail I did, I forget which one it was, in a gym again, but a normal sized gym. At the end of the gym, there was a room that went like beyond the gym, and it was the weight room. So I was in that little weight room off to the side. So when they sat at half court, 75 of them, I'd do like 4 shows in these 4 full hour shows, 4 hours, because they couldn't mix certain criminals with the other criminals. But anyway, the first one I ever did, there had just been an article. Debbie Solomon used to write for the Free Press, Jayson, and she did an article that I was going to do these jail tours, and it was all about my career and everything. So I was back lifting weights, and these guys are filing in. And I was 38 at the time, and I was pumped, and I kind of look out there. I was nervous, And then all of a sudden, just about before I was going to go on, they started, Rusty, Rusty. They're intimidating, trying to intimidate me, right? Because they'd read, so they'd read about me in the free press and everything. And some of them, there's some guys from the city and everything, and they're doing that. So I'm kind of like, well, this is a chance to wither or a chance to learn something. So I walk out. The guy says, okay, we're going to have an entertainer as Rusty DeWees. I walk out like sort of a quarter of a court, and they were like chuckling and Rusty. And I just stood there and looked at them. Didn't say a word. And they quieted down. And then I did my thing. So that was memorable. I just went into it.
Oh,
so
you just waited?
I showed I was not intimidated. Yeah, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Yeah. And that's the most interesting thing too. So instead of going out there and go, you think you're going to intimidate me? Look at this. I was just back there lifting 300 pounds. Not the right thing to do, maybe. I just went out there and stood there.
Wow.
Take your shots. So those are two memorable things.
Wow.
And the women's jails. But read that article. It's a good article.
Yeah, if you send it to me, I'd like to read it. What made you decide to go to the jails and perform?
Well, it's part because don't forget, I speak in benevolence to the working class. There's certainly white collar people who are in jail, but those are the people who I'm interested in. And I also think that they're paying their dues. Why should they not be entertained? And I have something that's entertaining. And also, it was another way to call up the big paper in the state and say, guess what I'm doing? I'm doing a tour of the jails. So they send a reporter over to my house and we talk all about it. And it gets you out there again at a time when, if you were on the front page of the living section, an egg is worth that. Now it ain't worth shit, because first of all, the papers, who reads the papers? Second of all, if there's something halfway interesting, that's going to maybe hold someone's attention for, well, they won't even read it. And then there's something the next day. There's Roe versus Wade, which is unfortunate, and there's Afghanistan. So it just wasn't like that back then. So it was part marketing, but most of it was, and also a challenge. But also that's kind of the cliched thing to do when you're my type of entertainer. Johnny Cash, the first thing Jayson said, goes into the jails. That's where Merle Haggard, who I love, was in jail when Folsom, when Johnny Cash came and performed. And Merle said to himself, I got to get my shit together because
Oh wow, that's kind of a good
Yeah,
story.
But I did it 7 times. I just didn't do it once and get that big pop early on. So then 7 days, 5 years later, did another whole feature article.
Wow.
They don't really, I tried it about it during the COVID, they didn't, but I tried it before COVID, and it's much more strict. The bureaucracy doesn't really, I guess they're just not interested in having me come in there right now.
Yeah, COVID must have been a dry spell for you if you like doing live shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so COVID hit, I'm a single guy. And I don't really have to work, let's say. So it didn't affect my life. It affected the job. Didn't really matter. What I thought of at the time was all the people that were just, in all these new beer places and that whole scene. If you play the guitar, Ali T, if you play in a room and you do 3 of those a night and you're getting, let's say $100, that's $300. You got a kid at home. That shit was wiped out for these people because they had a normal job, but that extra money. So I was like, boy, this is bad. But yeah, so that's why I bought the truck, the Mack truck. The first year of COVID came, I was delivering, I saw this Mack truck. I said, I got to get my CDL and I'm going to go around to Town Greens. I'm going to put a flatbed on them. I'm going to book myself in Town Greens and I'm going to take my show outside because that's the only chance I get. And you got to keep doing this. So I bought the Mack truck, put that together, and that's a whole new, I got fucking on CAX because of that. It's a whole other thing.
So do you do all the engineering, the sound engineering, or do you have somebody work with you for that on the
Don't
truck?
ever come to a truck show, Jayson, because you'll be like, oh boy, he don't know what he's. Now I have one of those little, right? I have one of those little, what's a little PV thing. And I have a friend who's really good, Peter Wilder, and he taught me how to do it. So, I just play the guitar and sing.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
this is not, it's just like, it takes me 5 minutes to plug that stuff in.
Okay.
2 speakers.
Yeah. All right. So you don't have a PA.
Well, I guess my microphone goes into the PV thing. And the microphone comes out the 2 speakers, and the guitar also comes out.
That's a PA.
I got a 00017 that you can plug in. I have a D28 that's acoustic that has no holes in it. So I use that in the halls. It's really acoustic, really nice. I don't plug in. Now I never used a mic when I was starting out for years and years and years. I did these theaters and town halls. I did the Burlington High School, no amplification because I grew up doing theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paid for that a couple of times. I'd get so weak that my body would get weak and then I would get sick, but I'd still push it out there, man.
Oh yeah.
And my audience seeing me sick, working hard, they love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, now, what do you do for activities in Vermont? Do you hunt?
Not a hunter, never had been a hunt, not opposed to hunt. I'm pro hunt. Probably you could say I'm pro gun if it's done right. No, I do that ride. I do the heart, and now I'm older. I used to do weights, but I do very little weights, and I hike, do all that stuff that people do in Vermont. Hike. I have a fairly good sized property that can keep you busy, and but that's what I do. I like to read. I'm in the bar most every night, got classical music on, and write my stuff. And it's very introverted lifestyle, very calm. And I go to town every day and do errands and see people in town to integrate into the people. The town is Stowe that I would go to, and I go to Burlington once or twice a week. I go to Stone Soup. I love Stone Soup. I'll go over to Tomger, just get the vibe, have my meetings over there. But that's really the only socialization I get. Oops.
Oh,
I'm not tripping the life fantastic.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, it's like it's interesting that you don't hunt because like the first thing I would think is that you're a hunter. I don't know why, but
The first story I did that put me on the map was about deer jacking. It was the deer jacking story.
That's probably why.
So yeah, no, not a hunter. I could not kill. I'm such a freaking pussy, man. It's unbelievable.
I'm that way too.
Oh my God, it's almost ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not gonna shoot things.
So this is probably a very like city person question, but what do you do with the tractor?
Right, the tractor I plow. It has a bucket on the front, and I guess the thing, you can't really see it, but there's a weird looking thing on the back of that, and that's a winch, W-I-N-C-H, and you cut down a tree. It's like this. You hook a chain to it. You pull a cord, and that winch brings that tree to the tractor. And then you drag that tree to a log landing. Then you cut that tree into these big stumps, and they dry for 2 months. I have a bunch of logs. I'm about to cut them up, and then you split them in October. And I do all that by hand. Split them by hand for exercise.
Wow.
So it's plowing and I have a good view, so I keep that view down. Keep picking trees.
Right.
Because that shit grows up.
What do you do with the wood after that? Do you sell it or do you build stuff?
No, I cut the logs into blocks. It's called blocking it up. So, 18-inch logs. There's the long logs, then I cut it into 18-inch sections. They dry in the hot summer sun. Then I split them and I burn them in the wood stove in the winter in the barn.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I didn't know if you were also a carpenter.
Mm-mm.
I have all
No.
these like preconceived notions about you.
No. I'm actually very, I like Tag Heuer watches. I lived in New York City for, I have the house is pretty goddamn fancy. People shit when they see my house. It's
Right,
pretty
but
sparkling. Really
having
nice.
seen your show though, this is my picture that you're destroying of of you. I picture you like going out hunting, grabbing a deer, putting it over your shoulder, walking in, slamming it on the table. You got to build the shed tomorrow, and you got a bunch of stuff to do out in the garden tomorrow. So the tractor and that's what my image always was because of the show. Really, I mean, which is probably a good thing.
That's the biggest compliment I could get, and that was one of the marketing things I decided. Like I said, after about 6 or 7 years, I was very confident in letting the people know that I had lived in New York City for 11 years, that I had worked at an auction house, that I am substance free, that I am. So I let that out. I know Paula Routley and Pamela Polston before they were 7 days, and I would let those things out. That was I have a wicked nice house. They came up. Paula did a whole article, Diamonds and Rusty. You could Google that one too, on my lifestyle.
That's
I
a
let
great
that out there.
headline. I really like that headline.
So what that did, Jayson, Rena, is that I thought, well, you can keep letting people think he's that guy, or you can expand your audience to people who think he's that guy. I don't want to go see that show too. Oh my God. There's something else about that. He's pretty interesting. So now those people started inviting me to do things, and I do motivational talks. So I let that out, and it was a good move. So there's two parts of the thing that you're selling. You're selling more. You're selling more.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Do you ever do any request? Can people ever request to do a bit or anything, or is that something where you're like, I'm not just gonna do a part? Like, I know Rena was saying she wanted
because I'm about to ask you to do a bit.
Well, let me see. I can do the character. I can. I'll do the first little part, and you'll get the idea of a story I wrote about a guy. I wrote it riding the subway so I'll do the character. I got a friend named Liddle. We call him Liddle because he's little. He says very little. He's got little eyes, little teeth, a little bit of hair up on top of his head sticks up a little. But mostly the reason I call him Little is because no matter what's going on around him, he's always got a little smile going. Little's home life was rugged. His father from the South, an auctioneer of cattle, part-time pastor, drove Little's mother crazy, literally into the loony bin, because he would always either be forever practicing auctioneering or pastoring or both. I often supped Sunday suppers at Little's house. His father presided. I put the kerchief in. Ding, 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 ding. Pass the mashed potatoes. Ding, 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 ding. Pass the mashed potatoes. Get them over here. Put them down here. Helen here. Hey, ho, hey, hey. Hey there, Little. Hey there, Little, get them on right now, get them up high. Oh, what are we going to have? Hey, Little, we got a roast beef here. I got a gravy. I got a mashed potatoes. I got a corn in the back. I got a corn in the back. I got a peas in the back. I got a corn and a peas in the back. I'm going to bring them up front. I'm going to put them down here. What are we going to do now, Little? We're going to pray to the Lord. Dear Lord, thank you so much for having Helen prepared this traditional Sunday dinner. I got my favorite things here. I got a roast beef here. I got a gravy. I got a mashed potatoes. Little, going to eat them all down. Going to be a big, strong man like his pappy is our Father, who art in heaven. How will it be that $40 bit? I got a $40 bit, $5 bit, $45 bit, $50 bit of corn and a peas. I'm gonna put them in my mouth, and I'm gonna chew them in the front. And Little, don't feed the dog from the table. So, Lord, amen. So that's the first part of a story.
You could actually put that to music. That sounded like somebody should be going.
So his father's the auctioneer and the pastor. And then further on in that story, Rena, I said, Little's got a one-legged dog. Dog's got one
Wait,
leg.
one leg,
One
one
leg
leg.
missing
I've
three.
seen lots of three-legged dogs. I have not
Right.
seen.
So that's how it goes, and they love it. One-legged dog. Dog's got one leg's missing three. Dog's name's Craig. Hedgehog trap eliminated is right. So it goes on, and at the end of that part, Little takes the dog out for his afternoon drags, and they go up the mountain, and it becomes very beautiful because Little is the reason he's got one leg. And I go on and tell he was drunk and he drove over the dog with his mower, and he sent.
Oh God.
So it's that's one of the best stories because it has a lot of poignancy, and but that's a little bit of the Garrison Keelery type story that I have. I also do jokes that coming at you more, but it's a kind of a mix between Garrison Keeler and the Larry the Cable Guy. Except I'm not like Larry the Cable. He uses a lot of foul language, but I don't so much.
Do you try to keep politics out of your show?
Jayson, I don't try to keep politics out of my show. That's not where I go. I just don't go there.
Right.
I can bring in a couple of things that are, that represent the moment in time and pop out a couple of things. But I don't. You don't know where I stand politically, although you know where I stand on social issues. That is to say, gay marriage and all the transgender stuff. I'm very, very liberal on that stuff. And I was never afraid to say that in front of my maybe more conservative core, but not politics. That's just a choice. I mean, you start to say where you are politically and people can shut down, and that's not doing them any favors.
Yep, I know that firsthand.
Yeah. Okay.
You've seen my Facebook posts, I'm sure.
I was about to say, I have seen your Facebook, Jayson, and you see a lot of people shutting down in those comments.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, and have at it. But also, that's just not I'm not going, I don't want to get into politics. That's blah, 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 Trump, Biden. No, I just don't naturally have that intelligence or thing. I don't. If I did,
it's not on your radar, kind of.
Not on my radar. If I did, I probably would still choose to not go there in this business.
It's
but
smart.
I don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to, as a creative, what you're doing, you don't necessarily have to bring that in. That's not your area. Whereas like other fields, I mean, politics is everything. It is so there are lots of fields where you have to let that in because out of necessity. But yeah, I can see entertainers, you can make that choice whether you're gonna go there or not. But it's interesting that you let people know where you stand on social issues too. How does that play with a very conservative audience?
When the gay marriage thing came down, I had a great joke. I can't tell it to you because I forget it, but it was really good. It was right down the middle. It was basically saying, don't throw the stone, you know what I mean? And it worked. By the way, if you have 2 hours of material and you're only doing 30 seconds of that. Yeah, I mean, I have a whole routine about Priuses. So that's the conservative getting after the Prius, but even the people that frickin' drive Priuses are dying laughing. And I see them, you got a Prius, and then they go off. And I have a whole routine about rich white people. And I go, it's not cool to like rich. This is paraphrasing. Not cool to like rich white people. Blah 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 blah. I said, I'm a rich white guy, and you can feel it to somebody. We're all rich to somebody. The homeless guy sleeping on the concrete, on the sidewalk, looks across the street to the homeless guy who's sleeping on the collapsed refrigerator box inside a sleeping bag and says, look at that rich homeless guy. And then that routine goes on to skiers. I grew up in Stowe, Vermont. So I grind the edges off by saying, I know it's not good to say that there's only rich white people ski, because then it's saying other type of people don't. I'm not saying that. I'm saying predominantly I'm from Stowe, Vermont. It's rich white people. And then I go on and on about it. You know, I was at a ski event, 18,000 of us at the rich white people standing at the finish line. I was looking around thinking, if I was looking for gluten, I'd be screwed right now. that event was so rich, the snow looked beige, you know. So I fuck with rich white people, because most of the people in my audience aren't rich white people. And if there are rich white people in the audience, they don't mind because they're fucking rich. And I could say that. I would say that right on stage, and it's comedy. So I guess it's how you present stuff. That's not to say you say stuff and people will take it the way they want. And whenever anybody has had a problem with my stuff over the years, mostly early on, I would never go, no. You're wrong. This is what I mean. What I would say is, if that's how you heard it, that's what you heard, and that's what that joke is to you. And I never apologize. So I'm sorry if I offended you, because I'm fucking not sorry if I offended them, because they chose to be offended. What I will say to them is, here's the joke written out. Look at it. And if so, once you start with something that somebody wants to get their ears pricked up on, they automatically hear what they want to hear. But if you write it out, they'll see that it's deftly written as to not offend.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think people like honesty and sincerity more than anything else. And if you offend them, you're not going to make everybody happy. No one really can.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like not every comedian or performer is for everybody, and and part of the whole nature of being a comedian is like pushing the envelope or making people think in different ways. So I very much agree with, like, it's okay for you to push those limits there, because you're at a comedy show. You're not like, this is not like the nightly news or other avenues where it's maybe not okay to push the envelope like that.
Oh, your picture went away and then it came back. Now it's your hand.
What's going on here?
He's showing us part of the live
It's
show.
it's gotta go. When I put the charger in, it's gotta go boop, and it's not going boop. So it just told me there's 10 seconds left again.
Oh, okay.
10%
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay.
So I can hold on. The light's gonna go out because it works over in that plug. Hold on. Easy.
I love it.
It works in this one.
Huge barn too.
Yeah, it's really nice in there.
Yeah, like maybe also because I've been living in like cities for too long. Every time I go, I'm like, wow, it's huge.
Yeah.
But it does look huge.
Oh, there was no power in the other wall or something with the charger, probably.
This thing doesn't. Do you have that with your phone? Sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah, pull it out and turn it around and put it in the other way. Sometimes
doing that.
Oh wow! Do you have
It could be that we don't have much time.
Yeah.
Well, we're about at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
So we normally do these for 2 hours.
And then there's the whole. I'll ask a question for you. Then there's the whole Me Too stuff. And in my early stuff, I sexualized stuff more, and I've ground the edges down on that stuff for sure. I don't think I was ever doing anything that wasn't being said in the lobby, but I'm much more concerned about doing that type of stuff. I sell thongs, Rena. I've sold thongs, Rena, and they sold Wicked. They have my little image on the thong part. And
do you have one?
I would show those
for the audience.
I would show those, and it's like, thongs are $12, $6 a crack. So I can say that. I can say that to some audiences, but I'll figure out the temperature there. Yeah, more. But I was never vulgar or but yeah, I would get people out of the audience, and I would have women in my I made my first calendars. I told you, 1 month I was always naked. I made a decision. The first calendars I was going to make, the naked shot, I was naked. The women too, always were fully clothed. One time I had a sap bucket covering me. The women were in fully clothed. But then people started coming up to my fairs and my shows and looking at the calendar, and they'd try to go right to the naked one. Men and women both would go, how come them girls got all their clothes on? But then the last 3 or 4 calendars, I had the gals in more revealing stuff. But when I would hire them, I would say, the photographer is in his house, his wife is there, his kids. You will never see me naked. Oh, because I'm not naked. I have a jock strap on and then the thing. But I said, I will be behind you. And I would never meet them at my house. I never did any of that stuff, man. And that was even before this. And I don't know, I was just being professional. It's not that I didn't want to, but so that worked. But I would never do a picture now. Probably, I'm 61 years old too, with a woman or a man scantily clad next to me.
So with the naked it was a different month every year. Was the naked month?
The first year was December. I had a little Christmas tree. I was holding a little, and I forget I wrote content to it. It's pretty funny. But anyway, and then there's 2 women. They were dressed in elf costumes. That's still Dean Martin. I really love Dean Martin. I grew up in the 60s, and I loved those guys because they were very talented. Movies, dancing, singing. They weren't Brad Pitt. I worked with Brad Pitt. Nice guy, but he don't sing. He don't fucking dance. You know what I mean? So I like those guys, and I grew up watching their shows, and that shit was just not good woman-wise, So I did choose to do some of that because I was a 38, 40-year-old guy. And it sold,
Yeah.
It sold.
Times have definitely changed quite a bit. I watched Top Gun the other day, and that movie, that would not work now. And the same movie, the way it's written, wouldn't work now at all if like, Tom Cruise was unknown and stuff. It's so misogynistic. It's insane.
What's striking to me now, I think, is like I'll watch stuff from years ago, and it's almost like even as a woman, like I didn't realize how misogynistic and like bad things were, like, I mean, even what did I watch? Like Ally McBeal or Doogie, some of these things will pop up on Hulu or what, and you're watching even shows from like the 90s or, maybe like late 80s. And I'm like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
what the hell? But you just didn't notice it back then. It was just, that was just like the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever watch a movie from the 30s? Guys would slap the woman and the woman thought it was their fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Or be really aggressive with them, and then suddenly they're turned on.
One more story. One more quick story. And this might go off and then I won't be able to say goodbye, but thanks for having me. But
right.
One more story. I was talking to my friend the other night, and he said, I just watched the Bond movie, and Carrie Lowell was in it. Carrie Lowell was married to Richard Gere. She was married to Griffin Dunn. She was on Law and Order for a while. And I did the interrogation scene with Jerry Orbach and Benjamin Brett and Sam Waterston. And Carrie Lowell was looking through the window the way they do. They watched interrogations. But on the set, I could see her too. We could see them too. You can't in a real interrogation. And during one of the setups, she flashed us. Because they had a little repartee. They worked with, and I was the guest, and she had a underwear on, bra, but she flashed us. So I'm, like, she did that,
Yeah.
So it was just a really gray.
Yeah.
The guys that got in trouble, it wasn't gray.
Yeah.
They were just bad, but it was a weird deal, I'm sure, back then. But anyway, I don't do that. I've pulled back on that, partly because of my age. It's not going to sell. If I have 20-year-old girls, Googling, I mean.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want the camera to just shut off and then us not say goodbye. So I feel.
So,
Well,
yeah,
we can
maybe
talk. We'll do
we
it
should.
again.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, how
God,
can
yeah.
people find? Like, is there anything? Do you want people to follow you? I know most of your stuff is live, but how
Or
can
Instagram.
people?
Instagram is where I
Instagram?
post where shows will be. It's rusty.dewees.
Yeah, I put it in the description also.
Thank you.
I love
Yeah.
pointing down like in the description.
And there you go. There you go. But yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it again. And do it in the winter. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be super
Maybe we
cool.
can do like you can show us around and some of that would be kind of cool. Your
Show us around the barn and the house. You mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
Sure.
Also, if you ever think of anybody that you think would be a good guest, let me know. Because we're really having fun with this, and
Well, I'll tell you who'd be a good guest.
Okay.
Jay Craven.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I would love that.
He's very approachable.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Craven, Kingdom County Productions.
Yep.
I'll give you his Facebook me there,
All right.
Jayson. I'll give you his email.
I auditioned for him, and oh my God, was that a scary time? Because he there were like a bunch of people, and I swear to God, it was like so intimidating because he had this demeanor about him that was very, very, very like just calm yet stern. And I was just like, I was so bizarre because I don't really know him at all. But I remember that being like, I'd been in a lot of auditions, and this was like probably the most nervous I'd ever been.
Well, that movie we just shot in Nantucket, and it's about Ethan Allen. That comes out next June. So I'll give you his email thing. And at the least, you contact him. Say, I'm your friend of Rusty's. He was just on a podcast. And I'll hit him up, say, Jay, this guy Jason's going to get in touch with you. And if nothing, just say, hey, man, when your movie comes out, we'd like to have you on to promote the crap out of it. And oh, yeah, he'll do it. He's fucking fascinating. Oh, shit, man.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of Jay Craven. That's a great idea. Wow. Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah, I will. I'll message you for sure. Oh, that's great. Wow. This is great. Sorry, I can talk forever, but but I understand. You have electronic things and issues, and Rena doesn't. Rena's probably tired.
usually do tap out at the 2-hour mark.
All right.
I'm tired. She's out there in LA. What time is it out there?
It's almost 7 out here.
Oh wow. All right. Well, God, thank you so much for doing this, Rusty. And yes, we will do this again for sure.
Yeah,
without
my pleasure.
a doubt.
I'll have the guitar. I've written songs, a couple funny ones, and play them.
Oh, that'd be really fun.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
I could bring my stuff there, and we could do a duet.
Absolutely.
That'd be so fun. Oh my God.
We talked about doing intermissions for this show, so maybe you guys could put together like a little intermission jingle or something for us to play.
Oh my God.
Well, good luck with it. Good luck with the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's the cat.
It's the cat shows up around the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
He's like, it's time for you to stop this now.
Hey, Rena, we didn't touch on this, but get on my Instagram and go through my post. I'm a cat lover. I have a cat named Michaela, and it's similar looking to yours.
Oh yeah, this is Oliver Dennis.
Cute.
And we think that he's part Maine Coon.
Mm-hmm. He's very big, yeah.
Yeah, he's only a year, and he's like starting to grow this mane. And I think I got him from a rescue, and I think he might be a tabby mixed with the Maine Coon.
Super lovable.
He is great. He's sweet, man.
Yeah, he's really sweet and mischievous. He will knock things in the toilet because he likes to see the toilet flush. So he'll get on the bathroom counter, knock something in if you leave it open, and then we'll look to see. I'm like, no, we're not flushing everything down the toilet. That's not. It's not what
Jayson, you have pets, you guys?
Yeah, we have a cat. It's a white cat. His name's Salem.
That's great.
He's
I like cats. I love dogs. But with this life I have, I don't think I'd be able to treat it, the dog properly.
Yeah,
but I will
same
someday.
here. Yeah, I would love a giant dog, but I'm not responsible enough. I have too many things going on. I would need to. That becomes your life if you have a big dog. If you're a good owner, anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's what I let my little Charlie is like, he's very like, he likes to go to happy hour. He likes to go to the store with you. Like
That's
he
great.
just kind of like fits his life into like city living. And every place in my neighborhood lets dogs in everywhere. So
Mhm.
they're like,
Wow.
it's almost like weird if there aren't dogs. Like when I travel, I'm like, oh, where are all the dogs in the T-Mobile store? Like, because people just bring their dogs everywhere. So he just comes, runs errands, goes to Target with me. There's a music store here. I don't play any instruments. We have to stop at the music store because Charlie likes to go in and get a treat because the guy at the music store loves dogs. So he keeps treats. And then all the dogs come and visit him. And so we
that's
go to the
cool.
music store.
That's a great. I remember Jayson, years and years ago, I was going to ask you if you're still playing. Years and years ago, the only time I saw you, it was great. It was quite powerful, was in Re-Raws. But this
yeah.
has to be a decade ago.
Yeah.
But it was cool. You were
Thank
up
you.
there hitting it in that corner deal.
Yeah.
And it was powerful, man.
That was one of our first shows. We stopped playing Re-Raws because they didn't at the time pay very well because it doesn't matter who you are there, they're going to be full on Saturday night no matter what.
Oh,
So they didn't
right.
offer anything for drawing crowds, and we drew crowds. So we were just like, and it was such a bad place to load stuff in. But I love Re-Raws though. I mean, it's a great place to go. I love it. Yeah, but that was a fun show.
Yeah.
Oh, you were there? Oh, wow, that's weird.
And
Wow.
I stayed for a while. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Right.
Well, awesome. How's
Yes.
how's your phone doing? Is it going to die? So we should go.
No, I mean, we can go till it dies. I mean, I don't care. It said
I
10%.
hate not having the resolution at the end, though.
We might
No,
also
but that's cool.
reach
Yeah.
a point in which the cat knocks some of my equipment out. So.
Isn't that part of the whole thing? And the
Yeah.
interview just ends.
Yep.
Yeah.
And well, it happened a couple times. I was like, oh, and there he goes. He's gone. Wow. So do you have any more film projects coming up? Because I also just want to know because I'm selfish. I want to know if there's anything going on.
Well, as you know, there's not much of a scene up here. Jay was doing this and there was a part for me. I did a movie with the Sheriff brothers. God, it's great. It's with David Warner. He's an English actor. It's really good. Shot it in Franconia. You can get that one on these streaming things. David Warner. He's an old English guy. Look that up. I forget. A lot of people are in. Eric Roberts is in it. Chevy Chase is actually in it. I have a really good part in that. I play a nurse, his nurse, and really cool. But no, I don't seek that stuff. But every once in a while, somebody will have a part. Soulmates. These two girls from LA who are from Vermont. Did you see Soulmate? Oh, check out Soulmates, Rena. Soulmates. It's two women, Vermonters. They wrote it. They followed through. They came here and they wrote the part of the storekeeper, Rusty. I'm in that and play a little music in that. And
where can I see it?
You can. That's on most of those streaming things.
Okay.
Soulmates, and you'll see these two girls' faces. It's like a real Vermont sort of puff piece. It's like a Hallmarky type thing. But yeah, they called me. So no, I don't seek those things out. Yeah.
No,
It's fun to get. It's fun to do it every once in a while.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, on Radical Jack, did you go to the Holiday Inn with all of us and Billy Ray Cyrus after one of the sets when he did karaoke?
No.
Oh.
No.
I can't wait. I want to talk to somebody about that. That was there because he did Achy Breaky Heart and didn't tell people he was going to be going up there. So all of a sudden there's Billy Ray Cyrus and you're like, what? In karaoke in Rutland, Vermont.
Well, my Billy Ray Cyrus story is fits this. I had just started the Logger, and we were shooting night in Rutland. And there was a camera set up, and Billy Ray was cool, as you know. And I looked over, Rena, to the side. 2 a.m. It's about 5 55 to 60-year-old Rutland women surrounding Billy Ray. And he was singing Achy Breaky Heart. They said, do Achy Breaky Heart. But he wasn't just doing the chorus. He was doing the whole song. And I was just starting the Logger, and I didn't know the Logger would have legs, but I looked at that and I said, that guy's sitting there and singing the whole song for these ladies. So you have to give the folks all the time that they ever want, you know. And I learned that. That was a lesson I learned from Billy Ray.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
Like just beyond nice. He was such
Yeah,
a great guy.
After that, you did that movie with him. Didn't you always like it, seeing it when he had a success? You know,
Yeah,
I was always really happy.
because they had that thing where he was like kind of like ostracized from society because of the song, and I'm like, I'm sorry, he's a great guy. And who's that guy, George? He was on that set too, George something. He played Fred in Back to the Future, like crazy drunk drivers. That guy. He was in Radical Jack. He played the main bad guy or secondary bad guy. He said to me one day, he goes, that Billy Ray, he's a good guy, and I ain't never met anybody from Tennessee that wasn't, or Kentucky that wasn't a good guy. And I was just like, cool. And that always hit me, like, yeah, he's just a really great guy, and maybe everybody in Kentucky's wonderful. I don't know.
Just a manly guy. But he has had a couple of hits since then, and I was always happy to see, you know, and then Miley doing well, and, you know, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, well, you know, we both were in a lot of David Giancola movies, so I could sit and reminisce about them all day. Like I was in Peril and Icebreaker.
I was in Icebreaker, yeah.
Yeah. Sean Astin, he's also a really good guy.
Yeah.
For no reason at all, he invited me and my friend back to his trailer to meet his wife and baby. I didn't know I was hanging out with Samwise Gamgee, but I did know I was hanging out with Rudy, and that was the movie that we talked about the most. I was just like, Rudy was inspirational to me, you know, and I loved that movie. I mean, I didn't play football, but
didn't he have a famous mother? Wasn't his mother Patty Duke?
I think he had
Patty Duke Astin. You could maybe before your time, but she was huge.
Yeah, I knew he had a famous mother, but I didn't know who she was.
Yeah, Patty Duke.
Yeah, that was cool. I loved that David was doing that. We're actually, David said he was going to do an interview. It just we haven't connected again. He said, yeah, I'd love to. And then the connection hasn't been. So if you talk to him, remind him to check his email.
I've been talking to him for a while. Yeah, just a great guy. And the key thing with those things, Jayson, is he had, again, his father was a huge, big time businessman in Rutland, and he had a distribution deal. He had those movies paid for before he would shoot. Peter Beckwith was his partner before he would shoot them. So, you know, poor Jay's got to go scrounging around, and guys like you. So he just, and I recognized that, and I was like, boy, I can you know, work on my chops with this guy, and plus he paid.
Yeah, he was a really good businessman. It's like he would get the distributing done before he even finished the movie. He would just say, this is who's going to be in it. This is what's going on. And then it just was he was great at business is really what he was, just really smart.
Yeah. And it's good to be that. Good at business.
Yeah, I'm not good at that part. Not at all. I give everything away for free.
It's not really. It doesn't run, I don't know about you, Rena, but it doesn't seem to run fluid in the veins of artists. I am fortunate because I have a little of both, and both are attractive to me. The creative, the performance, and seeing those cars pull into the lot. When I was doing those plays at Vermont Repertory Theater, again, we did all that work. I'd stand out back and watch the cars pull into the lot. So that's a very interesting. It's as important to me. The business part is as fun to me as the creative part. So I'm fortunate that way.
Yeah, that is really important, because you're right. A lot of creatives are like, I don't want anything to do with that. And, you know, and I think self-promotion, it's like, it's so necessary, but it's really hard for a lot of creatives. But it's, you have to do it, because that's how because you also have to make a living, right? Like you got to pay the bills too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's the big obstacle.
How do you do the camera back and forth? When Rena talks, it goes to her. That's good.
Oh, you have it set on yours to show whoever's talking. So if I stop talking and she starts talking, you have it set like that. Like I have it set right now, so it's a three people on the screen, but I could change it to that It's up in the top right-hand corner. It says view. Well, actually,
Oh.
you're on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's different there. I don't know how to do it on the phone. But yeah.
I thought one of you guys was doing that. I'm like, goddamn good camera work.
No, but when it's funny you say that because I do edit it later and I do take the squares and then I cut back and forth because Zoom isn't always perfect. Because like if you're talking and I go like that, it'll cut to me for a second and then cut back to you, and that drives me nuts. so
yeah.
I need more control.
Yeah.
As an editor, I have to have control over the pictures.
Yeah, that's right. That's the editing. That's where the story's told, man.
Oh yeah.
The editor.
Sure.
Fucking A.
Yeah, there's 3 movies: a script, and then there's the shooting of it, and then it's the editing, and they're all different. So true. Wow.
And again, that's why the smoking, because I used to watch Johnny Carson growing up, and all those guys would smoke. That was just so romantic to me.
Yeah, that's why I used to smoke. Actually, it was like a James Dean thing, and I didn't even watch James Dean. I was just like, I don't know, like, or Bruce Willis Die Hard or something. And it's funny because like now, like I have a 17-year-old and she thinks smoking is just totally the opposite of cool.
Right.
And it's kind of the way it is now in film. Like if they don't really romanticize it as much as they used to. But yeah, I mean, it's so I used to think it was super cool, and I do actually still think it's cool. I just choose not to smoke.
Right.
It looks awesome.
I mean, in the 60s, it was ubiquitous.
Yeah.
To think that, Rena, that people smoked on airplanes is the fucking bizarrest.
Hospitals.
That I cannot imagine. It must have been just one cloud of smoke, and like you can't have a smoking and non-smoking section in an airplane. You're all in the same tube. So people that didn't smoke must have been just miserable.
There were ashtrays on the armrests.
Yeah. Or at the end of
planes.
Yep. Or at the end of the aisles in grocery stores.
Oh, in grocery stores?
Yeah. There's an ashtray at the end of the aisles, so you could.
Why do you need to smoke while grocery shop? Like that just
you're
seems
addicted to nicotine.
Like you can't wait till you go outside. That's
it wasn't a thought. That wasn't the thing. It was just a cigarette. You'll light up going in, pick up the carrot.
Yeah. Well, that's a big thing though with time. I mean, my dad, we the way we heated our house was a kerosene heater. You know what we did how we did that? We put it in the middle of the living room with no ventilation, and we'd go chunk, and this little black smoke would go up and hit the ceiling and go poof. Nobody thought about it.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're much more healthy. And I smoke about 4 a week. I don't think my doctor says don't worry about it, but anyway, it's not helping me. But I don't think I'm worried about it.
4 cigars a week isn't a big deal. Your body can
because you don't inhale.
Yeah. Well, it's 4 a week, please. That's nothing. That's not a problem at all.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, I know people that smoke 2 packs a day. That's a big deal. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Well, so now I go over Rena to the house and I see little Michaela and I feed her her nighttime food and I go to bed. She gets right up on that bed, man.
Cat
purrs. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, our cat isn't allowed to do that.
Salem.
Yeah. Not named after the city, named after the book Salem's Lot. Which doesn't matter, but I have to say that for some reason.
I was thinking of Salem the cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, no, I didn't watch that.
He's a black cat.
Well, yeah.
Not a white cat.
That's the joke, I guess, the white cat.
My cat is named after the female skier, Michaela Schifrin.
Oh, okay.
World Cup skier. She's great. Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, we definitely have to have you back.
Man.
In the winter for sure.
Yeah, definitely do it. And we'll have a good time. Thanks for having me.
Oh God, it was a blast. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Yeah, it was great to meet you and chat.
Nice
Thanks for doing it.
My pleasure.
Yeah. What are you doing for the rest of the night?
Yeah, I'll dick around here a little bit, try to get my thing charging and check my stuff. And yeah, I go over and turn in. One thing I do is I get good rest. I'm able to get good rest. I'm always have at least 8 a night and 9, and
Must be nice.
very key. Yeah, right. I don't have a family, so.
Well, he showed me a picture. He's like,
He just said, I don't have a family, so I get good rest.
well, it's true. He showed me this. He's like, I just went for my evening walk. Here's my view. And he showed me a picture. Was that Mount Mansfield or what was that?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, great. And I took a picture of Luke eating dinner. I'm like, here's my view.
Yeah, I'll look at that. I was concerned about. Again, I'll tell you, you don't know how lucky, because it was sending me through. I had to get on the app, and then it was sending me through passwords and a new and and then the code thing. I thought I was getting warm, and I asked you. It was like 2 of, and I asked you what the code, and the code came, and then they said, give me this other code, and you gave it, and then boom, luck. It's just very lucky.
Nice. All right. This has
All right.
been awesome.
Thanks a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Take care, man. Have a wonderful evening. Talk to you soon.
I will. Yeah. See you. Nice to meet you, Rena.
Yeah, and thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons.
And share.
Yes.
And comment. Tell us some stuff. Commenting's awesome. I think I'm the only one that reads them, but I'm always responding to people. I don't know why.
Good.
But cool.
That's good. Keep it up.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night.
See ya.
All right. Good night.
See you later.